The message came down from Earth Central Command at precisely 900 hours. Every human ambassador, military officer, technician, and civilian contractor stationed throughout Federation space received the same directive. Pack your belongings and prepare for immediate evacuation. Commander Alan Blake stood on the observation deck of Orbital Station Gamma, watching as his staff efficiently dismantled workstations and secured equipment. After 15 years serving as humanity's military liaison to the Federation, he found it difficult to process the reality of what was happening. "Sir, the last transport is ready for boarding," said Lieutenant Karen Wells, her usual confident voice tinged with uncertainty. "All personnel accounted for." Blake nodded, his eyes fixed on the spectacular view of the gleaming Federation capital city below. The sprawling metropolis housed representatives from over 200 alien species, its architecture a stunning blend of cultures spanning half the galaxy. Yet humans had always been treated as second-class citizens within these hallowed halls. "Commander Blake," a gravelly voice interrupted his thoughts. "Is this truly happening?" Blake turned to face Senior Federation Counselor Zortav. The tall, blue-skinned diplomat had been one of the few alien officials who consistently treated humans with respect. "I'm afraid so, Counselor. Earth has made its decision." "But this is madness," Zortav said, his four eyes blinking rapidly in distress. "The Federation needs humanity. More than my colleagues care to admit." Blake offered a sad smile. Then they should have admitted it sooner. Across Federation space, the scene repeated itself thousands of times. Human personnel departed in orderly fashion, leaving behind only automated farewell messages and carefully documented transition plans. Most Federation officials regarded the exodus with dismissive amusement or thinly veiled contempt. In the Grand Chamber of the Federation Council, Head Ambassador Patricia Johnson delivered humanity's formal withdrawal statement. Her words echoed through the vast hall as representatives from 200 worlds looked on, with expressions ranging from shock to indifference. For 3 centuries, humanity has offered its innovation, labor, and goodwill to this Federation. We have been rewarded with exploitation, disregard, and thinly veiled contempt. Today, by unanimous decision of Earth's United Nations, we formally withdraw from all Federation treaties and agreements. The Federation High Chancellor, a reptilian draconian, waved a dismissive claw. "The Federation has survived the departure of species before. We will hardly notice your absence." Ambassador Johnson simply smiled. "We shall see." As she left the chamber, Zortav hurried after her. "Ambassador, please, this is a mistake that will hurt both humanity and the Federation." "The mistake was made long ago," Johnson replied, "when the Federation decided humans were useful tools rather than equal partners." In orbit above the Federation capital, the massive human fleet assembled. Hundreds of ships from Earth colonies and outposts converged, forming an impressive armada that would escort humanity home. From his command ship, Alan Blake issued the final departure order. Across the fleet, engines flared to life, burning bright against the darkness of space. On the Federation Council observation platform, Zortav watched the human ships depart. Beside him, other council members already discussed how to redistribute human responsibilities. "Good riddance," muttered a Taurian representative, always causing trouble with their demands for equal representation. Zortav shook his head slowly. "You fools. You have no idea what you've just lost." As the last human ship disappeared into hyperspace, the Federation's communication systems broadcast a simple automated message. Humanity has left the building. No one realized it was the beginning of the end. 6 months after the human departure, the first real problems began to surface across Federation space. What started as minor inconveniences soon grew into systemic failures that no one had anticipated. On the busy trading hub of Station Omega, Chief Engineer Vrilkor slammed his fist against the malfunctioning life support console. For the 3rd time this week, the oxygen recyclers had shut down without warning. "Where is that maintenance schedule?" he demanded, mandibles clicking in frustration. His assistant shuffled nervously. The humans maintained those records, sir. We've been trying to reconstruct them, but their documentation was unique. Vrilkor cursed under his breath. The humans had handled station maintenance for so long that no one else fully understood the integrated systems they had modified over decades. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out. Federation ships found themselves stranded as engines failed without proper servicing. The automated translation matrix that facilitated communication between species began producing nonsensical results without human linguists to update its algorithms. Dr. Susan Wright, one of the few humans who had chosen to remain in Federation space, found herself overwhelmed with patients at her small clinic on Proxima Colony. As the only human doctor for 12 star systems, she worked 20-hour days treating aliens suffering from conditions that had once been easily managed with human-developed medications. "I can't synthesize enough of the treatment," she explained to a desperate Andorian mother whose child suffered from a respiratory condition. "The human pharmaceutical networks are gone, and the Federation hasn't figured out how to replicate our production methods." The mother's antennae drooped in despair. "But what will we do? This medicine is the only thing that helps him breathe." Dr. Wright had no comforting answer. In the Federation Council chambers, emergency sessions became daily occurrences. Senator Zortav watched with growing dismay as his colleagues finally began to grasp the magnitude of their predicament. "The humans were operating 40% of our deep space communication relays," reported Admiral Fex. "Without their technicians, we've lost contact with the entire Sagittarius arm. The banking system is collapsing," added Economic Minister Lana Dell. Somehow, human financial institutions were processing almost 60% of interstellar transactions. "The algorithms they used are breaking down without their oversight." The Federation High Chancellor no longer looked dismissive. "Send a diplomatic mission to Earth immediately. Offer whatever concessions necessary to bring them back." 2 weeks later, the diplomatic vessel returned, its mission a complete failure. Earth had refused all communication attempts. On the frontier world of New Haven, Governor Frank Miller watched as the last Federation supply ship departed. Without the regular human merchant vessels that had once kept the colony well-stocked, the planet faced serious shortages. "What did the Federation officials say?" asked his deputy. Miller shook his head. "They said we're on our own. They can't maintain the supply routes without human navigators and pilots who knew the safe passages." As the crisis deepened, the first interspecies conflicts erupted over dwindling resources. Federation peacekeeping forces, already stretched thin trying to cover patrol routes once maintained by human ships, could barely respond. Dr. Wright, recording her daily log in her cramped office, summarized the situation simply. "The Federation never realized how deeply humans had integrated into the galactic infrastructure. We were never just another member species. We were the glue holding everything together." On Earth, the United Nations Galactic Affairs Committee monitored the unfolding chaos with somber satisfaction. Their message had been sent, though at great cost to innocent beings throughout the galaxy. The Federation was learning the hard way that humans had never been dispensable after all. 1 year after the human exodus, the Federation economy lay in ruins. What began as isolated system failures had cascaded into a full-blown galactic depression that threatened the very foundations of interstellar society. The Grand Trading Hall on Centaurus Prime, once bustling with merchants from 1,000 worlds, stood nearly empty. Display screens flashed red as market values plummeted across all sectors. Panicked traders shouted into communication devices, desperate to salvage what remained of their investments. "It makes no sense," muttered Trade Minister Xalu to his assistants. Humans represented barely 8% of Federation population. How could their departure cause this level of devastation? The answer, as Federation economists were finally discovering, was both simple and humiliating. Human merchant networks had quietly become the backbone of galactic commerce, creating efficient supply chains and trading routes that other species had taken for granted. On the frontier planet Vega II, once a thriving agricultural world, farmer Dex Hobson surveyed his withering fields. The specialized fertilizers that had made the alien soil fertile came from a human-run operation in the Cygnus sector. Without those supplies, crop yields had fallen by 70%. "We'll have to abandon the settlement," he told his wife Carol. "There's nothing left for us here." Thousands of colonies faced similar fates. Resources vital to survival became scarce, triggering conflicts between previously peaceful neighboring systems. Federation peacekeeping forces, already understaffed without human volunteers, found themselves overwhelmed by disputes erupting across multiple sectors. In the shadows of this collapsing order, opportunity beckoned for those willing to take risks. Jack Nichols guided his small freighter, the Lucky Break, through a dangerous asteroid field that most pilots avoided. As one of the few humans who had chosen to operate independently after the withdrawal, he had become extraordinarily wealthy. Approaching drop point, his navigation system announced. Below, the mining colony of Delta Pavonis waited desperately for the medical supplies in his cargo hold. What would have cost them 500 credits before the exodus now commanded a price of 15,000. "Nothing personal," Jack muttered as he prepared for landing. "Just business." Across his various smuggling routes, Jack had witnessed firsthand the true extent of the Federation's dependence on humanity. It wasn't just about technology or maintenance. Humans had created complex interconnected systems that other species hadn't bothered to understand. Meanwhile, in the Federation Council chambers, the atmosphere had transformed from dismissive to desperate. The elegant hall, with its soaring crystalline dome, now resembled a war room. Emergency lighting cast harsh shadows across tired faces as officials argued bitterly. "The Phylaxian Confederation is threatening to seize the dilithium mines in the Horsehead Nebula," reported Security Chief Morax. "Without human security forces patrolling that region, we cannot protect our interests there." Economic Minister Lana Dell's hologram flickered as she delivered more bad news. 38 major financial institutions collapsed yesterday. The banking system is on the verge of complete failure. The Federation High Chancellor, once so confident in dismissing humanity's importance, now looked aged and defeated. "What of our latest diplomatic mission to Earth?" A communications officer stepped forward nervously. "Sir, Earth has responded to our requests with a single message. You should have valued us when we were there." Back on Vega II, as the Hobson family loaded their belongings onto the last transport shuttle leaving the dying colony, Dex noticed a small ship approaching from the west. The vessel landed nearby, its hatch opening to reveal a human woman in worn flight gear. "Name's Linda Porter," she called out. "I hear you folks might need a lift to somewhere habitable." Carol eyed her suspiciously. "What's the cost?" Linda smiled. "Not credits. Information. Tell me everything you know about what's happening in this sector." As the galactic economy continued its free fall, a new currency was emerging. Knowledge about how to navigate the chaos that humanity had left behind. The Federation had finally learned a costly lesson. Some absences create voids too vast to fill. 18 months after humanity's departure, the situation in the outer colonies had deteriorated from desperate to catastrophic. The Federation referred to it as the Rimward Crisis, but for those living through it, there were far less polite terms. Captain Ryan Walsh of the independent freighter Distant Star watched through his view screen as another distress beacon activated in the Epsilon sector. That made 17 in the last month alone. "Should we respond, sir?" asked his first officer. Ryan shook his head grimly. "Can't help them all. We're low on fuel and supplies ourselves." In the pre-Exodus days, the frontier regions had been protected by human peacekeeping forces. Humanity's natural adaptability and willingness to patrol dangerous territories had created a buffer zone between civilized space and the lawless regions beyond. With those patrols gone, pirate fleets grew bold, preying on vulnerable colonies. On the mining outpost of Harmony Deep, Colony Administrator Olivia Reed organized the Civilian Defense Force, such as it was. 30 miners armed with outdated plasma rifles stood as the only protection for over 2,000 colonists. The perimeter sensors show 3 ships approaching, reported her security chief. Definitely pirate configuration. Olivia gripped her own rifle tighter. Has the Federation responded to our request for aid? They said the nearest patrol is 3 weeks away. She closed her eyes briefly, then straightened her shoulders. Then we defend ourselves. That's what humans do. The Federation military, once the most powerful force in the galaxy, found itself stretched beyond capacity. Without human soldiers, who had comprised nearly 40% of frontline troops, commanders struggled to maintain even basic defense perimeters around core worlds. We need to abandon the outer territories, Admiral Thex argued during an emergency council session. We simply don't have the resources to protect them. Zortav, now elevated to Federation Vice-Chancellor due to his early warnings about human importance, slammed his fist on the council table. Those colonies trusted us. If we abandon them now, we prove that humanity was right to leave. But resources were not the only problem. Federation military doctrine had relied on human strategic thinking for generations. Without human tactical advisors, fleet commanders found themselves outmaneuvered by even small pirate bands. Far from the political debates, a small human-led mission made its way to the frontier colonies. Lisa Chen, former Federation humanitarian officer, had gathered a group of like-minded humans who couldn't ignore the suffering their departure had caused. We're not going back to the Federation, she explained to her volunteer crew. But we can't let innocent people die because of political decisions. Her modified transport ship, loaded with medical supplies and defensive equipment, approached the embattled colony of Harmony Deep just as the pirate attack began. This is Lisa Chin to Harmony Deep. We're coming in hot with supplies and reinforcements. Hold your position. From her defensive barricade, Olivia Reed could hardly believe the transmission. Humans? You came back. Not officially, Lisa replied as her ship executed a combat landing pattern that scattered the surprised pirate vessels. Let's just say some of us have a conscience that won't let us abandon people in need. The small team of human specialists that emerged from Lisa's ship brought not just supplies, but something the colonists had lost: hope. Within hours, they had upgraded the colony's defensive systems and reorganized the militia into an effective fighting force. As news of the human-led resistance spread, other independent human groups emerged from hiding, forming a loose network of support for the abandoned colonies. They called themselves the Remnant, humans who operated outside Federation authority, but according to their own moral code. Back in the Federation Council chambers, reports of these human interventions caused both relief and alarm. They're acting without authorization, protested one council member. Zortav's response was cutting. They're doing what we cannot, keeping our promises. As the Rimward crisis deepened, the Federation finally came to terms with a painful reality. They had not merely lost workers or soldiers when humanity departed. They had lost their moral compass. 2 years after humanity's withdrawal, the Federation's situation had deteriorated beyond anyone's worst predictions. With economic collapse, frontier lawlessness, and critical system failures spreading inward toward the core worlds, the Federation Council finally took the unprecedented step they had hoped to avoid. The Federation flagship, Celestial Unity, emerged from hyperspace near Earth's solar system. Unlike previous diplomatic missions, this one carried the Federation High Chancellor himself, along with representatives from every major Federation species. We are being scanned, reported the Arcturian navigator. Multiple defense platforms have locked weapons on our position. The High Chancellor nodded grimly. His once proud bearing had given way to the weight of desperation. Transmit our diplomatic credentials and request permission to approach Earth. After an uncomfortably long silence, a response came through. Federation vessel, you are granted limited access to Luna Station. Proceed on designated course only. Any deviation will be considered hostile action. The delegation was met at Luna Station by a small contingent of Earth's unified government representatives. William Foster, Earth's Foreign Secretary, greeted them with cool professionalism that did nothing to hide the underlying tension. The Federation Council requests an audience with Earth's leadership, the High Chancellor stated. Foster's expression remained neutral. "Follow me." The Federation representatives were led through Luna Station's gleaming corridors, passing by human military personnel whose stern faces betrayed no emotion. The contrast with their last official visit was striking. Where once humans had been eager to please, now they projected confident indifference. Inside the council chamber, Earth's leadership waited. The room's design itself told a story. The Federation delegation sat in smaller chairs arranged below an elevated platform, where human officials looked down upon them. Prime Minister Rebecca Clark opened the proceedings without preamble. 2 years ago, your Federation informed us that humanity's departure would hardly be noticed. I believe those were the exact words. Yet here you are. The High Chancellor swallowed his pride. We were wrong. The Federation faces collapse without humanity's participation. We come seeking reconciliation. Reconciliation requires acknowledgement of past wrongs. Foster interjected. For 3 centuries, humans were treated as second-class citizens despite our contributions. What followed was not a negotiation but a revelation. One by one, human officials presented data showing exactly how integral humanity had been to Federation operations. Security feeds revealed human technicians working through the night to maintain systems that alien species took credit for. Trade records demonstrated how human merchants had subsidized struggling colonies that the Federation had officially abandoned. We kept no secrets, explained Minister Helen Walsh. This information was always available. You simply never bothered to look. The Federation delegates watched in growing discomfort as the full extent of their dependence was laid bare. Humans hadn't just been participants in galactic civilization. They had been its unacknowledged foundation. What would you have us do? Asked the High Chancellor finally. Foster slid a data tablet across the table. These are our terms for return. The conditions were steep. Human representation at every level of Federation leadership, control over key strategic sectors, and formal recognition of Earth as a founding power rather than a junior member. These demands are unprecedented, protested the draconian representative. So does the collapse of the Federation. Foster replied evenly. The choice is yours. As the Federation delegation reviewed the terms, private conversations broke out among them. We cannot accept these conditions, hissed the Taurian ambassador. Zor Tav, who had remained silent until now, finally spoke. We cannot afford to reject them. Look around you. While we've been struggling to maintain basic services, humanity has thrived in isolation. They don't need us. We need them. Indeed, what the Federation representatives had seen of Earth and its colonies showed not a civilization in decline, but one that had redirected its energies inward, strengthening its own systems and innovations. As the day-long negotiation concluded, the High Chancellor formally accepted Earth's preliminary terms. It wasn't a victory for the Federation. It was surrender wrapped in diplomatic language. Foster's final words to the departing delegation carried both promise and warning. Humanity is willing to return to galactic society. But this time, we will be partners, not servants. The message was clear. The humans were willing to walk back in, but only on their terms. 6 months after the landmark negotiations on Luna Station, preparations for humanity's conditional return to Federation space were well underway. What had begun as a desperate diplomatic mission had transformed into a complete restructuring of galactic society. On Earth's massive orbital platform, New Horizon, Nancy Reeves supervised the training of the first wave of human specialists preparing to re-enter Federation territory. As Director of Transition Operations, she faced the enormous task of coordinating humanity's strategic reintegration. Your primary mission is restoration, not retribution. She addressed the assembled group of engineers, technicians, and security personnel. Yes, the Federation wronged us. But our goal now is to build something better, not settle old scores. The men and women before her represented Earth's finest, experts who would assess and repair critical systems throughout Federation space. Each wore the new emblem of United Earth, a phoenix rising above a field of stars. Remember, you'll be operating with full authority under the new treaties, Nancy continued. But with that authority comes responsibility. We need to show why humanity deserves its new position. Across Earth and its colonies, similar preparations unfolded. Merchant fleets refitted their vessels for long-haul missions to resupply struggling Federation worlds. Military units trained alongside the handful of alien representatives who had come to coordinate joint security operations. Not everyone supported the return. In his apartment overlooking New Chicago, former freighter captain Jack Nichols met with fellow independent operators who had profited during the Federation's collapse. "They're giving away our leverage," Jack argued. The Federation was on its knees. We could have demanded more. Olivia Reed, who had defended Harmony Deep against pirates, shook her head. "This isn't about what we can take, Jack. It's about building something that lasts. Too many innocent people are suffering." The debate among humans reflected broader tensions throughout known space. Some Federation species welcomed humanity's return with relief, while others resented the new power dynamic. On the Federation capital world, work crews hurriedly renovated the east wing of the Grand Council building, a space previously used for minor functions now being transformed into the human delegation's headquarters. The symbolism wasn't subtle. Humanity would now occupy a central position in Federation governance. Senior Administrator Krell supervised the work with obvious discomfort. The council chamber itself must be reconfigured. The human representatives insist on equal seating height with the founding species. His assistant dared to ask the question many were thinking: is it true they're appointing a human as co-chancellor? Krell's expression soured. "So I've heard. The galaxy turns upside down, and we're expected to smile about it." Not far away, in what had once been a prestigious draconian restaurant, Zortav shared a meal with Lisa Chen, whose humanitarian efforts during the Rimward crisis had earned her respect throughout the frontier colonies. "Many on the council fear what humanity's return will mean," Zortav admitted. "They see it as a conquest without weapons." Lisa sipped her drink thoughtfully. "It doesn't have to be. The best of humanity doesn't want dominion. We want partnership. Real partnership this time. And the worst of humanity will need to be kept in check, just like the worst elements of any species," she acknowledged. "That's why the new governing structure is so important. Balance and accountability." As the date for official reintegration approached, final preparations accelerated across human territories. Transport ships loaded with supplies and equipment stood ready. Military vessels conducted joint exercises with the remnants of the Federation fleet. Diplomatic teams rehearsed the carefully choreographed ceremonies that would mark humanity's formal return. In her office overlooking the training grounds, Nancy Reeves reviewed the final personnel assignments late into the night. The decisions she made would determine which humans went where, crucial choices that could mean success or failure for the entire operation. Her assistant brought in yet another stack of reports. "The Federation just approved our request to bring advanced terraforming equipment to the Orion colonies." Nancy nodded, allowing herself a small smile. "They're learning. Cooperation works better than coercion." As she gazed out at the bustling activity below, Nancy reflected on the irony of the situation. Humanity had to leave the galactic community to finally find its rightful place within it. In 3 days, the first ships would depart. The galaxy was about to change again, this time with humanity holding the reins. The Grand Chamber of the Federation Council fell silent as the massive doors swung open. After 3 years of absence, humanity had officially returned to the galactic stage. The delegation of human representatives walked confidently down the central aisle, their steps echoing through the cavernous space. Leading them was George Harrison, newly appointed as the first human Federation president, a position created specifically under the new treaty agreements. His face betrayed no emotion as he approached the podium, though the significance of the moment weighed on everyone present. 3 years ago, humanity left this chamber as unwanted partners. Harrison began, his voice carrying to every corner of the room. "Today, we return as equals, not to dominate, but to collaborate in building a stronger galaxy for all species. From their elevated seats, representatives of 200 worlds watched with reactions ranging from relief to resentment. The power balance had shifted dramatically, yet undeniably for the better. In the 3 months since human specialists had begun returning to Federation space, essential services had been restored, pirate activity had decreased by 60%, and economic indicators showed the first positive growth in years. The old Federation failed because it was built on inequality, Harrison continued. The new Federation will thrive because it recognizes the unique contributions of all member species. Outside the Council building, citizens from dozens of worlds gathered to watch the historic ceremony on massive view screens. Among them stood Kate Wilson, a medical technician who had been among the first humans to return to Federation space. "Do you think it will last?" asked her Arcturian colleague. Kate watched as the council members rose to formally welcome the human delegation. "It has to. We've all seen the alternative." Across the galaxy, the effects of humanity's return were already evident. On the frontier world of New Horizon, Federation and human security forces conducted joint patrols for the first time. Captain Peter Martinez led his mixed-species crew through a sector once plagued by pirate attacks. Contact on the long-range scanners reported his Phylaxian sensor officer, identified as the pirate vessel Deathbringer, added Lieutenant Samantha Rogers. "They've been raiding this sector for months." Martinez smiled. "Not anymore. All ships moved to intercept pattern Delta." The resulting engagement lasted less than 10 minutes. Proof that human tactical expertise combined with Federation technology created a formidable force. Not all transitions were as smooth. On the industrial world of Proxima Centauri, human administrator Daniel Morgan faced resistance from local officials reluctant to implement new operational protocols. "These systems worked fine before humans interfered," complained the facility manager. Morgan gestured to the malfunctioning production line. "Define fine. Your output is down 70% and safety violations have tripled. We managed without you for 3 years." "Barely," Morgan countered. "And at what cost?" "Look, I'm not here to take over. I'm here to help rebuild something better than before." Such conversations played out countless times across Federation space, sometimes with compromise, sometimes with conflict. The path forward wasn't always clear, but it was undeniably progressive. In the Federation archive, newly appointed chief historian Zor Tav worked alongside human scholars to document the events of the past 3 years. What they called the human absence would be studied for generations to come. The remarkable aspect wasn't just how quickly things fell apart, Zor Tav observed to his human colleague, but how nobody recognized our dependence until it was gone. "That's often how it works," replied Dr. Elizabeth Novak. "You don't realize what's holding everything together until it walks away." Back in the Grand Chamber, as the formal ceremony concluded, President Harrison met privately with representatives from both supportive and resistant Federation species. "Some fear this is merely human revenge," stated the draconian delegate bluntly. Harrison shook his head. "Revenge would have been letting the Federation collapse completely. We chose a harder path, rebuilding together." "And if cooperation fails again?" asked another representative. "Then we all fail," Harrison said simply. "But I don't believe that will happen. We've all learned too much." As night fell on the Federation capital, lights burned in offices throughout the government complex. Human and alien officials worked side by side, rewriting regulations, restructuring systems, and forging connections that crossed species boundaries. In Earth's embassy, Nancy Reeves watched the activity from her window, reflecting on how far they had come. A message from Earth Central appeared on her screen. Phase 1 complete. Proceed with Phase 2 integration. She smiled as she authorized the next wave of human specialists to depart for Federation space. The message was being received throughout the galaxy. Humans hadn't just returned. They had brought with them a vision for a truly united Federation where no species would ever again be taken for granted. The galactic chaos was subsiding, replaced by something unprecedented: genuine partnership.